Cool.
Okay. All right, everybody. If anybody's in here, I'm getting some stuff cleaned up at the end, on the back end here. Apologize. Rookie at this.
You're doing better than I would. I would not know what to do.
Now I'm trying to see where that link was. Apologize. Rookie at this. Okay, there it is. All right, oops. I turned my volume down. All right, hey Samuel. Okay, we got Samuel with us.
Cool.
How's it going, buddy? Says we got 6 watching. Hey, if everybody can do me a favor and you guys can just say, hey, you're here or whatever, so I can kind of make sure this thing's running right. Like I said, this is the first time we've done this streamed live, so I'm gonna have a little issues trying to deal with both ends of this, but let's give it a second more and we'll start rolling here. All right, there we go. There's Ryan Black and Michael. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, guys.
Hey, John. Hanging with John's here. He's got a YouTube channel. Friend of mine. Okay.
Hey, John.
Let me go to this. We'll let a few more people get in here, guys, and then we'll start going. This is Meghan Lupyan. If you guys have never... I know I've talked about her, but I didn't pronounce her last name last night because I was afraid I was going to say it wrong. So
you did good just then.
Okay. All right. Let me jump. Okay. If anybody else is in here, go ahead and shoot a comment. There we go. There's Fowl Assassins. Also, a friend of mine got a channel, Waterfowl channel. Does a lot of reviews and duck hunting videos also himself. Okay. We are just about to get rolling, guys. Promise. Just get a few more things set up. We'll introduce Meghan to you guys. All right. Hey, anybody go ahead and say in the comments, let me know how the quality is. I know it's not going to be the best. Is it glitching really bad, or can you guys see okay? Somebody, it's saying there's 11 viewers. Good, that's good. This is a pretty good turnout, honestly. We just barely haven't started yet. So thank you guys for joining.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. All right. Well, I think we can get going. I don't think there's anything else I need to check. Okay. And okay, Ryan Black said it's not bad. Fowl Assassin says a little blurry, but not bad. We tested this the other day, guys, and to do it high quality, it was kind of glitching a little bit. So we'll just stick with this, I guess, if it's not too bad for you guys. How about our volume? Can you guys hear her okay? And I know it's a little bit delay, Megan, too. It's going to be just a little bit of delay.
Yeah.
And do you have it pulled up on your phone where you can see the questions in the live chat?
I do.
Okay. All right. I guess they can hear you okay.
Sweet.
All right, then. Let us get right into this. Okay. So thank you guys for having a little bit of patience with us. We want to have everything obviously very smooth, but on a live stream, there's no editing. You just got to go straight into it how it is. So thank you guys for joining us. It's actually a pretty good turnout for just starting the live stream. So thank you for joining us today. I want to say thank you to Meghan for being with us and coming on here live and taking time out of her day. For a week ago, we just spoke through Instagram for the first time, and already we're doing a live stream a week later. So that was pretty cool that you were willing to come on there that quick for us. So I appreciate that.
Well, thank you for having me.
We want to go right into Meghan. Go ahead and, if you can, tell us about yourself and what's going on in your life and what you do for a living and all that good stuff.
So I'm a wedding photographer slash outdoor photographer. I have been in the industry for the past 10 years, and I picked up my first camera and immediately fell in love with it. And then I decided to take my business full time about 8 years ago. So the benefits of that is I get to kind of make my own schedule. And my fiance, Chase, he works at a hunting outfitter in Kansas. So I get to be pretty selfish and go out there. So I spend about 3 months of my time for waterfowl season out there. So that's a lot of fun. I get to take my camera and help them and just hunt and have a blast. It's definitely a lot of fun.
That's awesome. And
Oh,
do you
yeah.
guys do you guys have early till season? Do you guys do that, or is it just start kind of when everybody else's does?
Normally they start booking about November. They don't really do a lot of early teal hunts. They're so busy
Okay. Yeah.
prepping for deer and stuff.
When does that season start? I know that's coming up.
I know they have youth clients coming in, and like I want to say it's mid-September. They have youth coming in, and then muzzleloader.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, they've been out there busting their butts, working really hard.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so anything else you want to say to what's going on or anything like that? I don't want to miss anything.
No, that's pretty much it. I started out kind of as a landscape photographer, then switched more into portrait work. So with now doing my hunting and outdoor stuff, it's fun just to be creative and kind of get to do a lot of cool stuff. And it's interesting to see your work get featured by some people and all of that. And it's cool and very humbling.
That's awesome. Okay, so I guess let's jump right into questions. Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. One of the things is my biggest question. I think we were gonna. Oh, I got the different list. I think we were gonna start out with ISO and all that stuff, right? First,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
three. What do you call that?
The three big O's, pretty much. There's so much that goes into making a properly exposed picture. And like, I always look at your ISO, your shutter speed, and your aperture as kind of like a pulley system because you need all three. And a lot of people have a really hard time with that because you get your camera and you want to go take awesome pictures.
Mm-hmm.
And so you want to take all these cool, awesome pictures, but like, hey, where do I start? So typically a lot of people kind of put their camera on auto, but when you decide that you want to take that initial step and start shooting manual, this is where you kind of need to know like your ISO, your shutter, your aperture. And once it's confusing at first and definitely takes a lot of practice, but once you get the hang of it, it's super easy. So like, for example, your ISO controls how sensitive the camera sensor is to light. And that can range anywhere from like, say you're shooting at 2 p.m. on a super sunny day, no clouds, and you'd have a super small ISO, like 100. And then say you're shooting sunset and it's very dark, no light,
Mm-hmm.
what you want to have a really high ISO. And they both have their advantages and disadvantages. I personally, when you're shooting at a higher ISO, I typically shoot at a higher ISO for my style. But that kind of comes with grain. So like if you're shooting, and sometimes cameras can't handle that. And then so the next thing is aperture, which also kind of is referred to as f-stop. And that is how much light is reaching this image sensor. So for example, like you see 1.2 f-stop, that's super wide open, and that's allowing a ton of light to reach the image sensor.
Okay.
And that can be kind of confusing because you would think like it wouldn't be that way. But then if you're shooting like a pile pick and say you have 8 guys and a ton of birds and you need a lot of them and obviously need them in focus, you want to have a huge f-stop, so like f-stop 8 essentially. But like I said, your ISO and your aperture kind of all work together. And then shutter speed, which I think is the hardest thing for a lot of people to kind of grasp. I know me personally, I had a really hard time with this, and even I still do sometimes, but it's all just practice. But that is pretty much how long it takes for your camera takes to spend taking the photo. It's the length of time your camera shutter is open, exposing the camera sensor. So it's kind of like the way I like to look at it is like your eye, like you blinking essentially, because the longer your eyes open, the more light you're reaching, and then blinking or whatever. But yeah, they all play into each other, and in order to have a properly exposed picture, they all work hand in hand.
Okay, so like on the last one that you mentioned, which was aperture, right? How fast was an aperture?
Shutter speed.
Shutter speed, I'm sorry. So like say an action camera, someone that's taking pictures of like an athlete running, that's when
Mhm.
you hear that click, click, click super fast,
Mhm.
right? It's opening, closing really quick.
Yep, you have a super fast shutter speed.
Okay. And then like the slow one, like maybe when people are taking pictures of like a starry night or something, right? It's just stays up
Yeah,
a long time.
yeah, like a long exposure. You can
Okay.
send them like 30 seconds and just super drawn out.
That's great. And you obviously I would assume you need um oh, what do you call it?
A tripod to
Tripod
kind of,
for that.
yeah, to kind
Yeah.
of stabilize it.
Okay, this is that's the hard part, and I know that's the part that I'm messing with all three of those, trying to get the right picture and stuff, because I'm forcing myself to stay on manual, like you were talking about. But my biggest thing, I have only tried it a few times, and I know this is gonna have a lot of carry over to us videoing, because a few of the people in here have channels, and I know this year we're trying to video birds and waterfowl and stuff like that. The biggest thing for me is, what is the best settings for flying birds? Like, when they're coming in, and obviously you're tracking them. My thing was always trying to get them in focus. Like,
Hmm.
how do you set that up on a camera like that can go on manual mode?
So I always look, it depends as far as like your ISO. I always start with my ISO. And then my aperture, I'd probably, as far as birds in flight, I do over 2.0, sometimes even bigger. And then you always want to have over 1200th of a second for shutter.
Oh wow.
I wouldn't go underneath that whatsoever.
Oh,
Just because,
so one slash 1200
yes.
a second. Okay.
Hmm.
And what did you say before that? You said, was that the f-stop you were talking about?
Yeah, I always do over 2.0.
Okay, gotcha. Because
Hmm.
you don't want to worry as much about the blur in the background. I mean, you do want that, right?
I do want that, but it's just a little bit more in focus. It gives you kind of more room as far as, say, if you're shooting wide open like 1.2, it's really easy. It's a lot easier for you to miss focus.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Hmm. And even too, essentially, I kind of try to go over 2.0 for birds in flight just because it's so easy to mess that up. You want to give yourself kind of room not
Okay.
to.
Okay. Now, on that focusing, you're using automatic, or do you use manual focus to get that bird in focus, or are you messing with the I don't even know what it's called, those little blocks that
So
like we were talking about that before?
So I use automatic focus, which is on your lens, and then I also use back button focus. And I normally try to keep my focal point directly in the center. I know with my
Okay.
camera, you can look through and it has all these focal points, and
Yep.
then I could just use a button. And then as far as another thing, when you're trying to move, catch something in motion, using back button focus is really easy, and that way you can kind of just follow along with it.
Which button is that? I'm trying to think of.
Um, So I know for me, I have my camera right here. This is a Canon Mark III. It is this button right here, the AFO on, the
Oh,
AFON.
so you're
Yeah.
tapping that as the bird's coming in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because
Can you hold it down too?
yeah, yes, and then because you know how you can hold the button on your camera right here,
Yes.
halfway to focus. The back is just easier for me.
Hmm.
Me personally, it's easier for me to just kind of follow along with it.
And you just hold it down, or do you just tapping
Yeah,
it as you're getting ready to shoot?
both. It depends how quick it's going.
Okay, so would you now say you're holding it down and it's what you want? Do you still holding it down and hit snap the picture at the same time, or do you release it?
Yeah, you're like holding it down and taking it at the same time. It's kind of
Really?
confusing. It definitely takes a lot of practice to get the hang of it because there's a
Hmm.
lot of like kind of motions at once.
Yeah, but that totally makes sense now. I shows that's why we're having this live stream, because I never honestly have never even read or seen that anywhere that's like a tip almost they're not saying or something.
And another thing that can be really helpful for people who are trying to get into photography and they don't really know where to start. When I had first started, on your camera, you have on your dial, you have different modes. So manual, automatic, TV, AV, P, or whatever. I would set mine to the P, which is the priority
Mhm.
setting. So all you do is you have to plug in your ISO. And
Okay.
that's a great way because technically, like if you're shooting on auto, your camera picks your settings for you. But this way on priority, you're only setting your ISO and then your camera's kind of doing everything else for you. And it allows you to see like where your settings should be.
Okay.
So that's super helpful as far as trying to get in the hang of things instead of diving right into manual.
Okay, gotcha.
That'd be my advice for people who are trying to kind of learn how to shoot manual as well and all that stuff.
Now, would you still be holding that autofocus or that button on the back while you're doing that? Really? Okay. So it doesn't do everything for you, but at least it gives you a little bit of a help.
Yep.
Because that stuff's changing all the time, right? Like all that stuff is shifting or needs to be. It's just depending on your level of expertise, I guess, huh?
Yeah, I feel like camera stuff, it's always changing.
Huh. Okay. All right, guys, I did want to mention real quick, stay with us. We're going to have a Q&A session here at the end after Megan goes over this with us. And so if you guys want, you can just put the questions down now, or you can just hold off till the end if you guys have any questions you want to ask. And then we'll start going through it here at the end. But we'll continue on and keep going over the questions. So far, I've already actually learned a bunch. So because that has been driving me nuts. I'm going to have to go out and practice that now. So what do you call that? That AF on? What is that? What's it?
Back button focusing.
Back button focusing. Okay.
Yeah, it really, I mean, it's so much. You just have to practice. That's all it is. It's just practice, practice, practice. I can't stress that enough.
Okay. Yeah, that's the truth. That's one thing too, I think would help us is, and me myself, if I always just kept my camera in my vehicle with me, like always everywhere I had it, because there's so many times I've seen stuff I would have liked to take a picture of and probably would have been a good opportunity for me to learn something, but I didn't have it with me or something. So I'm sure that thing goes with you everywhere.
Yeah, for the most part. There's times where I don't take it with me because it feels like work, essentially. But I've gotten better about carrying it with me because same situation. I'm like, oh, that light looks so pretty. I should have my camera to take that picture and stuff like that.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think if we're going to get into it, because I don't want to skip it, but I think we got on here somewhere. Or maybe we were just going to talk. Okay. I guess that was the next question. So the next question I had was the dark or the washed out, which is the ISO meter. That I don't know if you guys have seen it that are watching, or I'm speaking gibberish to you right now, but on the bottom right, at least of mine, because I have a Canon EOS 70D and Megan has the very nice, you have the Mark 3 or 4?
The Mark 3, not the Mark 4 yet.
Okay. Yeah, she's working on getting that one.
I
just want the Mark 3 because that one looks pretty sweet too. But on the bottom right, if you go which I think it's in auto mode too, but my question to her is on the bottom right, when you're trying to get the ISO right, in other words, if you guys have, and I'll try to put that as simple as I can. If you ever seen a picture that's super white, like if you look at yourself, you're fine, but in the whole background, it's like white if you're outside because it's so washed out. My question to her was, as far as the setting, do you like it? Where do you like that? Do you like that to be in the center where it's supposedly saying 0, or do you like it to lean a little bit to the overexposed side?
So me personally, I shoot a little bit more overexposed just because of my style. If you look at my pictures, they're pretty vibrant. Another fun fact, I don't like to really shoot when it's overcast or cloudy outside. I prefer sun. Fun fact. But going back to the meter, I always shoot about 1 or 2 notches overexposed, and the way you do that is your shutter speed. So essentially, the quicker the shutter speed, the darker the image, and then the slower is the brighter the image.
So don't mess with ISO then. Don't mess with ISO.
I mean, you can't. They all play in together. So for example, like if you're shooting at 7 o'clock sunset golden hour, it all depends on your ISO. Typically, I kind of shoot at a higher ISO just because I like to kind of lift those shadows. So say I'm shooting at like 1200 ISO and then just a quicker shutter speed. They all play into each other. But no, that's for your meter, you use that like the little dial on your camera to go back and forth, and that's your shutter that's adjusting.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
You totally make sense. So because I was always more paranoid about the ISO, but once you have it set where you want it, you're pretty much staying there.
For the most part, yeah. The only thing that really changes is my shutter, and that just depends if the light's moving or if the light is shifting, or if I want to up my aperture. But I try not to really mess with my ISO too much unless the light's moving or it's getting darker or brighter out.
Which at sunset, I guess it would be, right? Like that's the time when you're kind of hard to deal with that stuff, or no, it's not too bad.
No, it can be because it can be kind of bad because it is darker. And so you kind of need a higher ISO. So when you have a higher ISO, sometimes cameras can't handle that. If you don't have like the greatest camera, sometimes the higher ISO, it can be very shaky if your shutter speed's not where it should be. So there could be camera blur as well as grain, which as far as like quality of the picture just doesn't look the greatest.
And that's the thing, because this is just people saying it, but they obviously, every scenario is different, but they're like, oh, you never want to go over 800 ISO because then you're getting washed out. And I'm like, man, that kind of limits you a lot.
It all depends, I think, on like what gear you have. Because I personally, I shoot at a lot higher ISO than a lot of people would normally shoot at, just for my style and the way I edit and the way I shoot. But then again, there's a lot of people who won't go over 800 ISO because it can create grain. But I mean, there's been situations where I've shot at 4,000-5,000 ISO.
Oh, wow. And you have no grain issues.
A little bit, but it's not anything that's awful. Granted, I'm not going to sit there and blow those pictures up to where they're massive and huge because you'd be able to say that. But I don't know, too. I feel like grain, because sometimes that kind of has that filmy look and it's kind of coming back into style a little bit. So sometimes grain isn't a bad thing. It can kind of help you be creative.
Yeah, because it almost feels really limited. It's kind of like, oh no, I'm sitting there worrying about that all the time. And then it's like, obviously it's not as detrimental to the shot as it sometimes they may. I mean, I understand why they're saying that, because I can't stand, and you zoom in a picture and it's just a bunch of blocks everywhere.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
And two, you have to really see if your gear can handle it though. Granted, I'm saying that because mine's pretty good in low light as far as ISO and stuff, but sometimes cameras like a Canon Rebel, which is a kind of a smaller, lower grade camera, can't really handle that as good as like the Canon Mark III.
I'm sure as the quality moves up, that's how everything's going to move up together, right?
Yeah.
So, okay. Oh, you answered that question perfectly. Thank you. All right. So, I must have skipped something because I thought we had kind of talked about focusing, but manual versus auto, do we have anything to go over, or did we kind of already cover that already?
I mean, a little bit. Like I said earlier, I shoot auto because manual, I'm just not quick enough. My eyesight's not the greatest, so it's harder for me to see as far as like what's moving and stuff. And then to the back button focus. But another tip that can be really helpful for you as far as shooting stuff that's in motion is to set your focusing mode to Al Servo. That's Canon. I want to say like a Nikon camera. I think that mode is I can't remember. I know though in Nikon it's not called Al Servo.
Al Servo as in like L as in Lima?
AL, then Servo, SERVO.
What's the difference between that and the, okay, that was the other thing, is the face recognition. That's obviously if you're taking pictures of people, or maybe if you're vlogging or just taking a selfie, I guess that would be what you would want to use.
For Al Servo, I'm sorry.
No, for the face recognition one, I don't even really know what their technical term on Canon is for that.
Like one shot? I
think so. Oh, I'll pull it up right here on mine. I should be having this out as you're talking anyways, but okay. Because there's servo AF, which that's the stuff that always gets me confused. Okay, so there's the AF method, and it's saying autofocus watch. I guess that's probably what that is. If it says if you're in live shooting, and then there's multi-zone.
Huh. I haven't heard of that before.
Okay, that's probably
because I know like on my camera, like where the focusing modes are, the 3 different focusing modes are Al Servo, one shot, and Al focus. Those are the 3 focusing modes. I know cameras can be finicky, and I know like Nikon, their stuff's different than Canon.
Well, this is a, like I said, this is a Canon EOS 7DD. I wonder,
Yeah.
are you changing that on screen?
Yeah, so I wonder if you guys can see it. So I'm going to the back of my camera right here. And so like right now I originally had an Al servo, but the bottom left-hand corner where it's changing. It should be changing at least.
Okay, I've seen
Like
that
right
screen on
there.
mine. I've seen that screen on mine, but that's not what it's definitely not pulled that up. That's probably what I need to have. You know, might be because hold on. I had it in video mode. That might have something to do with it.
Yeah, that's probably a little bit more different.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, someone said I'm gonna need like a couple pages of notes here. And I'm like, yeah, I probably will.
And I know too, we just got a comment about shooting stuff in motion to put a lead on it. That's absolutely correct. You always want to follow it. Just like, like when you're hunting, you kind of lead it.
Okay, really? Like, so you would say you would want to keep the bird kind of at the back end of it, like you're in front of it?
A little bit, yeah.
You know what I mean? How much do you actually put on that?
I will always set my focal point to the direct center.
Okay.
And then, so like say, I'll always try to focus on the eyes, but then so like even if it's coming to the back, just kind of bring it forward. That makes sense. It's so much easier to like show
it in person.
Yeah.
We need to have a seminar in person.
I know.
That'd be cool.
That would
Okay.
be cool.
Okay, so I'm just got to play this later because I know I got that screen on there, but I don't want to take time, obviously, to mess with that. But I'm definitely gonna get it set up on that screen that you were just showing right there to mess with all those settings.
Because even too, if you're like trying to like take pictures at like a sporting event or something too, like that's a mode that you kind of want to be on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just set it up in that one. Okay.
It follows the motion, the movement, I should say, follows the movement.
Now those blocks, those green blocks, there's like 9 or whatever. You can set how many there are. Like how you set that up when you're doing that for your focus.
Mine, I want to say I have a lot. I don't know exactly, but when you're looking at them, it's like all different blocks, and I just use my back button and just move it around to where I want my focal point to be.
Oh,
so if I'm shooting like say like a pile picture, I'll focus on the eyes and do that, like on the guys in the picture on their eyes.
Gotcha. Okay, so you're using that even for taking pictures of people and stuff like that.
Oh, absolutely. I'm constantly moving my button and moving my focal point.
And that's from you holding down that AF on button?
Nope. On my camera, I have like a little toggle thingy right here, and that when I'm looking through it, I'll press this little button right here. It shows your focal points, and then I'll just move a little toggle and just move it all around, and I'll see it in the viewfinder.
Okay, gotcha. That's why I need that camera. All right. So we got several more that's in here with us. Thanks, guys, for whoever else has joined. Appreciate that.
Yes, thank you.
I don't know. I think we're around a 10-second delay, so I don't want to. And guys are probably like, dude, what are you guys talking about? But I want this for those of you that come on here after this has already been finished with the live stream. I just really wanted to do this with Megan to be able to have an opportunity for myself, for you guys, if you're interested in waterfowl photography, that you could come back in later on, reference it, go over the subjects that we're talking about, and figure stuff out on your cameras or whatever. So it's not only just for a live stream, but it's going to be posted so that anybody can come on here anytime. And it's like, hey, I remember they talked about that, and then come in and find out about it and learn about it. So, okay. Then moving on for the next question. Anything else you want to say about that subject, Megan?
No, I think we hit on that pretty good, I'd say.
Okay. All right. Next question is, what's the advantage of running on manual versus auto mode? Some people I know just want to keep it on auto, and sometimes that's easy for me to want to do too. But what's the advantage to you?
Me personally, I just have my certain style. So I just always kind of keep it on manual because the way I shoot is really consistent. So when I edit, it's pretty easy. But auto is, it's easy. Your camera's so smart. Your camera knows what settings to pick. But then again, sometimes it can't be right. So they sometimes the settings like you'll like have a super low ISO when it shouldn't be and stuff like that.
Mm.
It all kind of depends if you're comfortable in shooting in manual compared to auto.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're not a terrible person if you want to keep it in auto, I guess. Huh?
No. And even too, like I said earlier, if you want to kind of branch away from auto, but you're still scared to do manual because it is scary. I mean, there's so much, there's numbers, there's stuff that comes into play. Put it on priority. Put it on the P on your dial where you
Okay.
can change from auto to manual. And it really does help you kind of pick what settings you need and kind of shows you what way to go and stuff like that.
Gotcha. Okay. I've seen that, read about that too. That's definitely something might need to try that for a little while before I start getting too crazy. But
And then it's just
okay,
practice. That's all it is you just really just practice.
just gotta keep messing with it, huh?
Yeah.
Just like anything, I've learned so much just in the last year editing videos and using different software and stuff. And the stuff that was hard for me now or then is not now. So I get that. Just sometimes putting the work in, we kind of tend to slack off on that, but
Yeah.
it's worth it. Okay. And next question. I had just seen how long we've been on here, so I'm trying to push through, but we don't want to rush Megan. I told her just take your time, explain stuff. What's the biggest difference between cheap cameras and DSLRs?
So you have your point and shoot cameras, which are like your cheap. They're not interchangeable lenses. They're like the little box cameras that typically like grandma has. Dirt cheap, and they're just don't do it. It's good if you're like going on a vacation. I mean, you have your phone now, but I was gonna say it's good if you're going on a vacation, but just don't even do it. They're the DSLRs. The difference between the point and shoots and DSLRs is DSLRs you can interchange lenses, which is super nice. And they too now there's so many of them. Their prices they range from being pretty not really expensive to really really expensive. But like me personally, my Mark III, then I also have the Canon the 6D. They have a 60D too, but this is a 6D. It's a full frame, and the difference between full frame is it lets more light into the sensor, and it's considered more of a professional grade. But they tend to be a little bit more expensive. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean that's the way I would recommend if you can afford, like for example, like a Canon 6D. I always try to like emphasize that because the 60D and then the 6D, that one's full frame, and I think like last I checked, I want to say it was maybe like $900.
Okay.
But
and that's a probably good starter one if someone wants to spend that money and get into something like that.
Absolutely. Okay. If you're looking at trying to kind of become a professional photographer or even to like wanting really good quality pictures, that's like the route I would go.
Okay. Okay. All right. We're having some good questions, guys, already. I'm seeing down here. We're going to save the Q&A for the end. We're almost there. We're getting close. I think we got just a couple more questions and then on our end, and then we'll get to the live Q&A. All right, so the next question is the biggest difference between cheap I just did that, repeating myself. Starter kit, sorry. Low end or high end? Like, give us a low end where like, okay, some of these people on here, you know, they're like, man, I just can't put the money into that. Like, what would you say would be an affordable low end? And then go ahead and just give us kind of a high end starter kit setup.
So I'm pretty biased because I shoot Canon. I've shot Canon for years. So I'm pretty biased with that. But I will say Canon is phenomenal. I mean, I'm familiar a little bit with Nikon, but I just feel like Canon works better for me. But so a good recommendation for a cheaper starter kit would be like a Canon Rebel. And they couple $100, and I know like Best Buy, they normally do a lot of sales where you get like a kit lens, which you can have like 1 or 2 lenses, which I personally am not a fan of kit lenses because they're just not good. You want to invest in good. No, They're just I hate kit lenses. I always
Yeah.
recommend selling the kit lenses and buying like a good lens, because essentially like in order to have, you really need like good lenses. So yeah. So that a Canon Rebel would be what I'd recommend as far as like a lower end. And they're only, I want to say, a couple $100. And then like a full on, like if you have unlimited budget, do I would say either like the Nikon like D850. I've heard amazing things about that. I personally have
Okay.
never shot it, but I've heard great things. Or like the Canon Mark IV. I've shot that before. I've rented that, and that's great.
Okay.
And then another tip too for some people, it's really easy to rent lenses and rent cameras. So if you're on the fence about, you don't know what you want to buy, or if you're like, hey, I don't know if I want to spend that money, you can go to like borrow lenses or like rentlenses.com, and you can rent them for like 3 days to see what you like, how it feels, and do that. That's what I would really recommend.
That's a great tip. I actually just right as you were talking about that before you had mentioned that, I heard that when you did the podcast with Valfront, I was like, I actually wrote that down on my phone. I was like, because I'm definitely going to try that out because, you know, and now let me ask you this. Just let's say to rent the body and the lens, like if you just pick one body and one lens, and I know it's probably varies depending on the price of the camera, but I mean, is it like astronomical? Is it like $200 a day, or is it pretty affordable?
Now, I want to say I had rented. My goal within the next 6 months is to buy the Mark IV, so I rented it, and I want to say I rented it for like a week. And I think for like 7 or 8 days, it was like $200.
Oh wow.
It wasn't
And
that. It was.
that's a high end camera too.
They did make me. I had to send them in like a picture of my license, and then a piece of like my business license as well, just to show them like I'm legit. Like I have like I'm like my stuff is matching up, because it is. I mean, it's so expensive. I want to say it's like a $3,500 camera, so they don't want you to like run away with it, like take it and steal it.
So if you don't have a business license, are they not going to let you rent from them?
No, no, they will. You could send them like send them like a photocopy of a piece of your mail or something. You
Oh,
don't have to.
gotcha.
That's just something that I had like on file really quick, and I was trying to do it fast. And then also like I sent them like a picture of my license.
Okay, gotcha. All
And
right, that
it's
makes sense.
and it's really easy to do. I mean, they have a huge selection. And even to like a lens, like a 50 millimeter lens, 1.2 is, I think, like $20 a day to rent. If that,
Okay.
it's not that bad.
Okay. Okay. Learned a lot already.
Good.
Yeah, like you said, I'm sitting here writing this down, trying to pay attention to what you're saying. So it's a little tough. We got quite a few people in here. We got some other channels too in here. We got What's Up to Somewhere in Wisconsin, Duck Gun Chronicles, Foul Assassins, Hanging with John. I don't know if there's Valley Boys. I don't know if you guys got a channel. It's good to see. Obviously, you know how to take pictures. You had mentioned that. We also got On the X. He's got a channel too. So a lot of guys that are actually trying to make videos and using equipment. So which is really the guys that we're the ones that really focus on it. You know, other people just they like to watch it. We like to film it. So anyways, we
Yeah.
can go ahead and get, guys, if you want to start asking the questions. I'm seeing only just a couple right here, and it doesn't have to be limited to photography. I mean, we want to talk about that too, but if you want to ask Megan any questions about what she does or where she works at, or taking pictures for the Hickory Creek Farms, right?
Hi, it's
Hickory Creek Outfitters.
Hunt Hickory Creek. Yep.
Is that what the actual name is? Hunt
Yep.
Hickory Creek?
Hunt
Okay.
Hickory Creek.
They have some sweet, I follow them on social media. They have some sweet pictures that Megan is taking, so she's doing a good job with that. And I thought that was pretty cool that you are offering that kind of service to the people that have come and hunted, that they got pictures. I mean, that's a pretty, I was telling my brother about that. I was like, man, that's like a really good package that I've never heard of anybody doing.
Yeah, we started offering it like 2 years ago, and like everybody loves it. I mean, they get to kind of, because a lot of people too, like they want to bring their camera, they want to take pictures, but it's hard to do both if you're hunting and trying to enjoy the experience. And then this way, I love to kind of capture those moments and those memories in the blind. I want you to be able to look back at those pictures and be like, wow, like this was a hunt of a lifetime type of thing. So that's what I really enjoy doing. And everybody has really loved it.
That's awesome. Okay, so first question, guys. We're going into the Q&A. One question, very good question from Duck Gun Chronicles was he asked, he has a channel too. If you guys want to check him out, go hit Duck Gun Chronicles, becoming good friends with Jordan. And his question is I think we kind of discussed this, DSLR versus camcorder, which that's a little different than we had discussed because we were talking about point and shoot. But as far as video, I mean, I know your specialty is photography, but I think you could still make that call pretty easy. Camcorder versus DSLR, everybody's switching to that now, even the TV channels and stuff.
That's would be my reasoning behind that, is if everybody is switching to DSLRs, so I would go that route. I think you just get more from it than like a camcorder. I'm not super familiar with them, so I don't really know, but I think just technology now with DSLRs, I would go that route.
Okay. Also, Duck Gun Chronicles asked, what's your favorite lens on your DSLR that you're like, you use all the time? It's your favorite one?
I have two. I love my 70 to 200 2.8, and that's a telephoto lens, and that is great for waterfowl stuff. And then I also love my 50 1.2, and that's more wide angle, and it's kind of more of like a portrait lens. But that also kind of lets me just get to sit back and kind of capture those moments and those memories in the blind. So those would be my two number one go-tos.
Gotcha. Perfect. And do you do the 70 to 200 as your kind of your main one, just because you can do close up and then you can do zoom in and get far out too?
Yeah, normally when I get my bag together for the day, I always have my 70-200 on my camera, and I don't normally change it or take it off.
Okay. Kind of off the waterfowl, but it's still at the same time it's important to a lot of us because, and mine is the landscape photo, because I'm getting ready to go to, well, here in a couple months, me and my brother and my dad are going to Idaho for like an elk and deer hunt. We're just it's just they're packing us in, that we're not they're not guiding us or anything, but I want to get a lot. It's a beautiful part of the country where we're going to, and I want to get really good pictures. So I know from what I've read, you want to use that wide angle lens. But here's the thing, as far as focus goes, if I want the whole thing in focus because it's landscape, I mean, how's that work? Or like, say if we're taking, I heard you say on Falfront, like a hero shot, like where you're trying to get the whole group, the ducks, the background. What's your settings on that? Like, are you focusing on certain things, or like, say if it's a whole mountain range? I mean, how are you setting that up?
You want a really, really high aperture to get all of that in focus. So the way you look at it is when you're taking a picture, you have your focal point and it's a plane. You want everything for like a hero shot. You want all of your guys on one exact plane and focus on the eyes. And that way everything is in focus, and you want just a super, super high aperture. As far as like landscapes, if it's like a mountaintop, I personally, like when I'm shooting landscape stuff, I would like focus on the mountaintop or focus on something like, say if there's like a tree or something, and do that. And then as far as settings, ISO depends on what your light is like, if it's super bright or super dark, and that plays into your shutter, and that also plays into how high your aperture can go, because remember, the higher the aperture you have, it's the less light you're letting in.
Gotcha. So even though, like, say a mountain range or whatever, and you've got the trees, you got the valley, you got the mountains way back there, if you focus on it like that, like say pick the mountains out, it's still going to bring the whole mountain range into focus.
It should, as long as you have a super high aperture.
Okay, because I got you now. I'm with you. All right, let's see here. Well, okay, here's off topic, but it's a question. We won't make it too much longer. It's already been a little while, so but we do want the questions are important to us. Megan, what was your favorite hunt last year?
So, okay, I have two favorite hunts, and I'll go really fast. We had this amazing group in. It was this group in from Louisiana, just awesome, awesome guys, so much fun. And we shot a 9-man limit within like not even an hour, just straight crushed it, and it was phenomenal. And I mean,
Probably all mallards too, wasn't it?
it was.
You guys and your mallards were jealous, big time out here in California.
And it was awesome. I mean, it helps too. We had such a great group of guys in, and it just helps too because it's just an awesome experience. And then so that was definitely a favorite of mine. And then my second favorite was it was late goose season. We had a bunch of really cool friends in, and obviously had no idea. And we just got done hunting. We were cleaning up, and Chase was like, "Hey, Megan." Chase is my fiance. Chase was like, "Hey, come on over, take a picture." And then he ended up proposing in the goose field, full camo, everything.
That's awesome.
Our dog, he's actually from Southern Oak Kennels. Our dog Jack brought the ring box with the ring in it in his mouth over to us, and so I'd definitely say those were my two favorite hunts last year, just because.
That's cool. That's cool.
It was pretty cool.
I'd have to say mine's. Me and my brother we had a lot of great hunts last year. We started hunting some different places than we normally do locally. We made the drive, but it was well worth it. But me and my brother, it was definitely one of the most memorable hunts. He was on here. I don't know if he still is or not, but we shot that banded pintail. The only bummer is that we shot the bird. Even on the GoPro, you cannot tell who hit it first. So we both claimed it. So now my buddy Travis McDonald, he's a taxidermist, and so we're going to have him mount and throw the band on there. I think we're going to stick it in our gym. We got a garage gym. I think we're going to stick it down there and argue about the rest of our lives who shot it first. So no, that was unbelievable. We even made a video of that. I think it's called best refuge hunt I've ever been on. And it was like so dead in the morning. We didn't get a good blind. My brother talked me into staying in the afternoon. We came back out and just literally crushed. It was so epic. We're in a pit blind. It was awesome. But
that sounds like so much fun.
It was super cool. Pintail, widgeon, gadwall, even a mallard, one mallard, I think. So, all right. Next question. Somewhere in Wisconsin asked, he's considering an 18 to 135 millimeter lens for deer hunting. What's your thoughts on that?
I have the 16 to 35, and then I also have the 135 fixed. I love my 135, and I also love my 16 to 35, and that's kind of in that range. And I think that would be great for deer hunting. And also, too, you could kind of look into the 7200. I personally would recommend that over the 18 to 135, just because it's more of like you have more of a range as far you can go. But it also depends too, like what you're looking to do with it for deer hunting.
Okay, Megan, if you don't mind, if you can type in down here below what your Instagram is. I mean, I know what it is, but if you want to just punch it in there in the comments, some people are asking for it.
Sure.
Let you do that real quick before we do the next question.
Did that.
There we go. Pretty simple. All right. Trying to get this going here. I think we might have I seen another question up here. I'm probably going to get a lot of questions later in the comments, I'm sure. But I might call you up and say, help.
Yeah, absolutely.
I answered that one.
If anybody has any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I love to help and all that. So whatever, feel free to reach out and message me, and I will help you as best as I can.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Megan's been very helpful, and she's very open to help anybody. So we appreciate that. I want to say again, thank you, Megan, for coming on this channel, for answering the questions. And Dan Ponce, however you say that, he said he showed up late, but he's starting from the beginning, so he'll get to this later. But I think we got most of the questions. Anybody have anything else before we start wrapping this up? If anybody wants to. Okay, somewhere in Wisconsin has another question. He said shooting sunsets, like good setting to get all the color.
That is a pretty good question. I have my Kelvin set on my camera, my white balance, which helps me. If you look at my Instagram or my Facebook or my website, I shoot with a lot of goldens, a lot of golden colors, browns, a little bit of pink, stuff like that. So having my white balance set, that helps. But as far as like settings, I shoot at a higher ISO to help lift those shadows, to kind of get those colors too in. And like sunrise and sunset automatically, that's like kind of the golden hours, which already has all those pretty colors. So as long as you kind of like have your settings as far as like where your ISO is for the way the light is, if it's not too light or too dark, and then just play off of that. But automatically they already have those really pretty colors if it's a beautiful sunrise or sunset.
Gotcha. Okay. And off of you saying that, I did have another question. We're probably about to wrap it up. Thank you, Michael, he said, good job, Megan and Titus. So appreciate that, Michael. My question is do you always, when you're taking your pictures, are you always looking through the viewfinder or are you looking on the screen, the LCD screen?
Viewfinder.
Always, right?
Always. I've never used my LCD screen, minus doing some video stuff I have. But taking pictures, I always look through the viewfinder. Okay. Now, to adjust the settings that you want to set, you can do it all right there inside with a toggle switch, right? No, typically what I do is I will get my camera out and I set my ISO first and then set my aperture for like what I'm shooting and then kind of play with my shutter, and that's when I go into my viewfinder and do the dial back and forth to kind of get my shutter to where it would probably be properly exposed. And like I said earlier, I kind of bump it up like one stop to a little bit more overexposed because it fits my style a little bit more. Okay. Wow, I'm gonna definitely come back to this several times to soak all this in. I'm gonna put this into practice tonight. It's still kind of late. I know it's late where she's at, so I gotta let you go. I know you work too, but I don't think there's anything else. We don't got no more questions. I think everybody's asked the questions that they want to. So one final shout out, Megan, that you want to shout out for anybody, whatever you want to say, just to close this video up. Thank you so much for having me. Anybody, if you guys ever have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, and same with you. If you have any questions for me, just message or whatever. I'm here to help. And if anyone's looking for a hunt in Kansas, Hunt Hickory Creek is phenomenal, and we provide photography so you can have your hunt documented. So you can always look back at that and remember those memories. And that's pretty much it. All right. So thank you so much again, Megan. Appreciate you for being here. Sorry for a little bit of the technical difficulties at the beginning. Thank you for answering all the questions. Might be, like I said, might be hitting you up later as far as people asking some questions because they want the professional help. But I'll let you go, and we thank you so much for being here. Everybody, thank you for being here on the channel today. If you're new here, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. And we appreciate everybody that we have built relationship with on this channel, and that you guys are supporting us so much. A little bit more, honestly, more people on this live stream than I thought there would be. So thank you so much for that. And we will go ahead and end this live broadcast right now. So thank you again, Megan. Thank you.